All right. Well, was that loud for you, James?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, ready?
Hey, I'm excited. This is our second official video podcast, but the audience hasn't actually seen the first one.
No.
But this is something fun for us because we're going to be doing this weekly as well. Have a little fun. I don't know if we've done this before, where it's just been you and me chatting about things that are relevant in construction, news, topics, trends.
No, I don't think we have. The cool thing is we have the screen.
We do.
And now we can pull stuff up. So we've been chatting about stuff that's in the news.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And then talking about some other stuff of podcasts we've had and stuff coming up and the recap and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. So without boring people too much, we have to go back a little bit. Just a little bit. So a couple weeks ago, we were up in Whistler. These are all posted now for the Construction Leadership Forum. 8 episodes, conversations with industry leaders, construction general contractors, consultants, regulations. It was fun putting all those clips together. There's some pretty good nuggets in there.
Yeah.
That are going to lead to some full breakout conversations with a lot of our guests.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's talk about something interesting. What do we got?
What wasn't interesting about that? A little housekeeping stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to that, we are going to be doing these, like I was saying, weekly. And last week, we released episode officially. That was 84. We had Josh Levy from Document Crunch.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah, no, going through all that, and actually it led to a couple conversations with construction lawyers.
Yeah.
Who want to come on and talk more understanding contracts and actual case stuff with subcontractors and general contractors.
Oh,
so real world examples.
Oh, you've had people reach out?
Yes,
now?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. That's going to get heavy.
That's interesting. Is that not interesting?
Oh, no. No, it's just bugging you.
No, it's all good. But no, I think it was really cool because that happens a lot. There's a lot of, we talk about adversarial nature in construction.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of our guests come on, and when they share their favorite stories from the site, usually there's legal implications to those types of things. And having Josh on last week, it was great to know that there's tools out there that are going to be helping construction professionals be able to create better contracts, pull out nuggets inside their contracts, and just help them understand what they're looking at.
Yeah. The interpreter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
You know, we're recording in the middle of the afternoon, and it kind of feels like I need some kind of cocktail, even though I can't have one. I feel like I need one.
Can't have one because it's middle of the afternoon.
Did you just pull something out of your bag?
No.
You got a Mickey in there?
No.
Okay, good.
A Fireball? No, it's a little.
Is that what's always in that?
This is my coffee. Yeah, there's a little tea and Fireball.
Tea and Fireball. That would actually be pretty good. What about one of those Bengal spice teas with...
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
That's good. Okay, and the other thing we're going to be doing, and we've done this before, is we have had Russell Hickson from Site News join us.
Yeah.
He will be jumping in every couple of weeks probably to go through these news and these topics and things like that. They have this weekly newsletter called Site News, which I think some of our audience is probably familiar with.
Yeah.
But it's been out for a little while now, and it's really picking up some steam.
Yeah.
They bring out a lot of really relevant news stories in construction, which is funny when we first started saying, hey, it'd be really good to sit down and do our own stuff. We've been doing this for, the better part of 3 years with some significant breaks.
Yeah.
But we've done it always interviewing somebody, bringing on a guest, talking about their story, entrepreneurial journey, just whatever, things that are happening in construction that need to be discussed. And we were like, is that even going to be relevant? Is there even going to be enough to talk about? But it turns out when you see their Site News weekly newsletter,
it's pretty broad.
It's very broad, and there's a lot to talk about. And we're going to jump into a few of those things today.
Sweet. It's good. So their Site News is kind of like a Morning Joe for construction.
Yeah, like the Morning Joe.
It even has a chart in it.
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
Morning Brew.
Hey, let's put a hard hat in
it. The hustle. Yeah. Sponsorship, Morning Joe.
Yeah.
Anyone?
That's good. Nice.
No, that's really good. But yes, that's exactly what it is. It's that for construction. And it's weekly. Shout out Site News. You'll be hearing a lot more of that. And Russ, who's going to join us. And actually, we'll be pulling news stories from things like Site News today, especially. And so lots of shout outs to those guys and to Russ. But do you want to jump into some of these here?
I do. I think so. Today I had 3 possible guests. Yeah, just reach out today.
Nice.
It's crazy. Like I didn't anticipate having this many inbound people wanting to come on this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us, because this happens every time we sit down. I think we're always like, oh, a few more email or whatever.
Yeah.
There's quite a few that come in. You got to sift through them all and make sure that.
Yeah, I know.
And actually, we should let people know a lot of the guests that do come on were people that did reach out to us.
Exactly. Yeah.
We do have our own circle of customers at SiteMax and their leaders and their owners that want to come on and talk about things. But that would become very much just our closed circle.
Yeah.
If that's all we kept doing.
And then that mic drop agency, they keep.
Shout out to Mic Drop Agency.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, they brought
service.
on Steve DeLordo.
Yeah.
Yeah, from ConTech. That was really cool. He's been doing a lot of podcasts as well.
Okay, so in the news, right?
In the news. Yeah.
Let's hit it. What do we got?
Okay. Well, we being SiteMax, we know a little bit about construction tech, construction software.
Yeah.
And I think we can kind of dig into this a little bit because in the journey from start to where we are now, lots of people can get involved in your construction tech business, from investors and customers who want to invest, et cetera. But one thing that's really cool, and we've seen here through a Site News article, which I think producer Dave, shout out producer Dave.
Hello, Dave.
He can bring up these things here. This is, oh my goodness, look how high tech we are. We've got video, we can pull up screens, but and this is fun too, we had David McFarland from EllisDon join us at the Construction Leadership Forum, which was really great. But EllisDon has partnered with Impulse Partners, and they are going to be doing basically like a construction tech incubator. Now, primarily construction, Canadian construction, but this could be from anywhere. But it's really neat to see the industry or an industry leader investing into the industry the way that EllisDon does.
So they say accelerator. What's the difference between an accelerator and incubator? Incubator makes the egg. Accelerator makes the egg hatch faster.
Hatch faster.
I guess so. I guess the lamp on the egg is the accelerator.
That would be.
And the chicken is the incubator. I don't know. Something like that. So are they
Yeah.
I wonder what stage of companies these are in their funding.
Well, if you scroll down there, you can see the three primary focuses. There
Okay.
you go. So identification of technology-driven solutions, with high potential. All right. So I'm assuming, these things aren't nothing burgers yet. These are, something that's had some traction.
Okay.
And they want to run some.
I see. So construction sector confronts escalating challenges, including rising costs, labor shortages, and environmental concerns. Embracing innovation is crucial to maintaining competitiveness and promoting growth. Very, very, very true. So from being in SiteMax and scaling this company, we know how difficult this is.
Yeah.
It's all in the execution. Like, ideas are cheap.
Yeah.
And hopefully that these guys can really get the rubber to sort of hit the road in terms of the execution side. I mean, being part of EllisDon, I do believe. What was that product that they had for a while? It was Gate something. It was a number.
Oh,
Gate
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that.
Yeah.
Gate 3, I think.
Gate 3. That sounds right. Yes.
I'm sure we got it wrong, but whatever gate it is.
Yes.
I know that when before SiteMax was a company, it was in a construction company, and if I'd have just and it was an internal project, if I'd have just stopped and gone and done something else, it would have died.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what happens with a lot of these companies. They think that they don't think, they underestimate how much of a people-driven business technology is.
Right.
They just think, even my dad would say to me, he goes, well, why do you still need developers? It's built already. It's like, yeah, well, come on. It's a living organism.
Improvement, iteration, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's something that, and in construction, we always talk about the rip and replace, how difficult that is. Kind of like if somebody wants a new time system, or they want a new safety system, or a system of shared drawings, etc. You don't want to be, because of the different stakeholders in construction and all of the moving pieces, you don't want to be doing it twice.
Yeah.
One in the real world, and the other one is your testing. It doubles the workload for everybody, and no one has time to double the workload. They only have time to do it once. So the rip and replace becomes very slow because of the potential risks of ruining a project because of the software. So, but it's interesting that we had, if you look at the interview that we had with David, it was at Whistler.
It was.
He was talking about we got to worry about AI and all this stuff. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
Well, you brought that one in, but actually it was like super thought provoking for him.
Yeah.
And for Sarah that was joining us in that one.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. Just to backtrack just a teeny bit here.
Yeah.
I think it's a couple things here. Clearly that they're jumping into this at this point in time. There's a lot of greenfield still in construction technology. It's an industry that, you've seen everything from the early 2000s. Yeah. Right. All the CAD stuff, right, and everything, and like we talked with Phil Ogilvie, right? Yeah. And he came on this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, .com era, and building things. A quarter century later, and there's still like major okay, nope, this is still a complete, not fully untapped, but something that's ripe for so much innovation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's just the slow nature of adoption of construction and technology and construction, but I think it goes to your point a little bit of it's such, and I don't know if this goes for other software, okay, in other industries, but there's such a human element of this and such a direct connection to, if this isn't going to help me, we're not using it.
Exactly.
And if you miss that in construction tech,
it just doesn't get
it's like game over.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that same thing, because you have the paradigm where in consumer software, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, all of these apps that people use a lot, LinkedIn, there is a significant volume, and also the fact that they are not paying for it.
Right.
It's free software.
Yeah.
Free software to the masses. So, and massive valuation companies that can really get it right. Whereas in the SaaS space, B2B construction or B2B in general business, you're trying to get people to pay.
Right.
And when you are trying to get people to pay in the early days, they tell you what they want. And that drives the product growth. Right. And the product roadmap. And what can happen is the wrong customers can give you the wrong roadmap. Mm-hmm. So that's the part in the B2B that's difficult.
Yes.
And you have to have a lot of confidence and conviction that you have got it right. So with the EllisDon situation is, EllisDon might say through their accelerator, okay, this is what we need for our size of company. How many EllisDons are there?
Right.
I don't know. Throughout North America, I mean, is there 200 of those?
Well, in Canada, you probably only have a few.
Right, but throughout the United States, yeah. So there's maybe a couple of hundred, maybe. The United States is pretty big.
A few dozen. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but obviously you need something that works through all the trade contractors, et cetera, rather than just what it works for a big general.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. The cool thing is, EllisDon's not their first kick at the can here. They've obviously done that. I don't know if the people who were doing Gate
Gate 3, Gate number undefined.
Yeah, Gate number undefined. Did that? If those people are still involved in this initiative or not? I guess we'll find out.
Well, what's really funny too is, and I don't want to segue too much, but you were saying in B2B software companies how roadmaps can be driven by customers. Yeah, it's kind of interesting if you watch with Twitter and Elon, you see users, and usually they're pretty well known or well followed users, but making product requests. Oh yeah, and he's like answering them, and he's like, "Oh, these are great ideas. This is fantastic." But just to see that level of innovation and iteration in a product coming straight from users is really key. And we know that drives something like construction tech products. But with EllisDon, we know them to have built things internally before, but also utilized outside tools as well. But clearly they see the need, as many have probably come to the same conclusion, that companies that are built outside or on their own can they might be able to drive innovation a lot more. We see oftentimes, and like a product that just can iterate a lot quicker and be a little bit more, not niche, but just dialed in. Mm-hmm. And we've seen with people who, when we go and approach them with even our product like SiteMax, they'll be like, "Oh, we tried to build something ourselves. We spent $150,000 building an app. Now we have to pay somebody $60,000 to $80,000 a year to manage it."
Yeah, and it's a contract.
And then they get stuck in that, and very often they got to move away from those things. So
All right.
This is exciting. We wish them all the best in their pursuits in finding the most promising Canadian construction tech startups.
Cool.
But on a similar note, and I know you have chatted a little bit about, okay, yeah, Dave's bringing this one up here. And we've talked about it a number of times. This is a good one.
It is.
Not the third thing's a really good one, but this is really cool because we've talked a lot about with guests before robotics.
Yeah.
You know,
I brought it up a lot.
You brought up a fair bit. Well, you know, maybe you lead this one off. You want to talk about robotics and take us away on this one, replacing jobs or simply making us more efficient?
Yeah. Well, I think that the human form is really good at some things and terrible at other things. Mm-hmm. For instance, you know, the picture we have up here of the autonomous robot. I don't know if Dave, you can scroll that down. There's a picture. There it is, right there.
Yep.
So that thing there, if you were to, you've seen that has a camera on it and it's moving around. It's going to be taking in 3D capture. So you've seen probably how a movie has been captured. A human has to have a steady cam on them just to stay the right height. Your muscles get tired when you're holding the camera, so they have to have that huge contraption on top of them. So there's an example where the human form is not ideally designed to go around a flat surface and go and take and capture stuff. And it's a bad use of their time too. Speed, how fast it's going, it doesn't understand to slow down, speed up, whatever it is in terms of how much to capture. This thing can go at a certain speed, certain height. It knows what it's forgotten. It can keep going back.
Right.
All that sort of stuff. So in this respect, I don't really think that the robotics is anything for anybody to be scared of. Somebody's going to have to run this thing.
Yeah.
And make sure that it got all the information it needed to get. And what I was reading from this article is that this stuff has been used in the military quite a bit. Mm-hmm. You've seen these things go in to check out bombs and stuff like that and go into high-risk areas where landmines are and stuff like that. So this stuff's been around for a while. It's just a matter of, how does it apply for construction?
No, for sure. And I think that you mentioned it, that this isn't necessarily going to replace people, but it's doing something that somebody that had a bunch of things to do already, just another thing to do, right?
Yeah, or they don't have to do anymore.
Or that they don't have to do, but they were doing before.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, and we've talked about these robots that can lay out like floor plates, right? These things kind of tend to be like deployed at the construction site once everyone's gone.
Is this the one that sprays the stuff down too?
I don't know.
That marks it as well?
That's the one I was talking about. I'm sure there could be multiple use. This one here has got some 360 photos that it takes and progress capture and a bunch of other stuff on there as well. But these things seem to be typically deployed once people are gone, right?
Yeah.
And presumably once debris is kind of cleared or somewhat clear, it can seemingly navigate.
Well, it's like a Roomba, right? I mean,
a
Roomba's going to suck if you leave stuff all over the floor.
Yes, exactly. But it does know how to navigate and everything like that. But the cool thing is like a human, and this is something, again, like in construction software or even services that people offer, like, oh, we'll come take progress photos of your job site, right? We'll do it like, pre-concrete, pre-boarding on your walls, pre-finishes and coverings, so that you can see pre-closing things up, so you can see plumbing, mechanical, etc.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember those things, and you got to do it consistently. And if you're like, oh yeah, I only did that 4 times this week, I was supposed to do it 5. Right.
So is this a multi-vista killer?
No, I wasn't going to say anything like that. But I mean, like this thing here, here's where the complicated thing is.
Or will multi-vista just get these things?
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, they have all the customers.
That's it, right? And you just leave it on a job site on one floor plate, let it do its thing until they have the next floor plate ready, then move it up, then let it do its thing again until the next floor plate, and it's just taking
if I were
all
them,
your
I'd just
capture.
get a whole bunch of these.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, is like the thing can't climb stairs, but presumably if you're building a high-rise, you're just not that hard to just move it when you're onto the next floor plate. So,
yeah, exactly.
But the main thing here as well, in addition to the fact that this thing's not scaring too many people for jobs necessarily, but it's the cost. This thing is
cheap.
It's cheap, or it's a lot cheaper than it used to be.
16 grand, actually.
Yeah, $17,000 there, right? So it's almost a fifth.
Wow. Yeah, it used to be 90 grand. Wow.
Right. Which is crazy, and you see that with technology over time, things drop in price from the initial units and the initial machines, right? But this is pretty cool and seemingly something that I think could have some real life good implications here.
So these bullets here, let's just go through this. So
Sure,
first one is automatic. The robot travels across the facility or construction job site without an operator. Okay, well, someone's going to need to like set this thing up. So, I mean, it's not going to be like a Roomba thing where it goes in its little thing and recharges. Well, maybe it is.
I think so.
But still, the problem is a construction project continues to evolve. It's not the same house every time, right? So it's going to have obstacles that a human's going to have to reset it for, I would think.
Totally.
So, okay. The second one, schedule whenever. This robot can scan an entire area during the off hours. Well, that's pretty cool, though. Job site's closed.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I wonder what the safety implications are of this thing moving around, shifting stuff around by accident. Interesting. Does this thing need its own safety manager? I wonder. Safety would have to be part. Anything that changes the job site at all would require some kind of safety of some sort, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, this thing is doesn't look like it can do that much damage. It's kind of small, but yeah, I don't know.
It's not going to break an arm. But okay, so software integration. They import the 360 images into most reality capture application companies. Okay, so interesting. So that you'd be able to go in with your headset on and then go and check that thing out after.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to take these things and upload them straight to the cloud type thing. So it's, a lot of people have a 360 camera. And like I said, they send somebody around to take their pictures.
Right.
And then they upload it to their software program.
What were those Matterports, right? Was that what those things were?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
But this just seems like it's going to kill a few birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, you heard about that Apple headset that's going to be coming out?
A little bit.
Yeah. $3,000.
And
it's an augmented reality.
Oh, yeah.
So you stick the thing on your face, and it basically has the camera giving you the reality and then also putting a layer on top of, like, new stuff. So, yeah. Apparently it's coming out in June.
No way.
So it's going to be interesting what that's going to do for construction.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have all these things already. HoloLens and a few other things, right, that people can use on job sites. But to make something that's as consumer-ready as a pair of Apple glasses?
Yeah, I mean, if it's Apple, I mean, Apple's not exactly. And what have they done? I think on the All In podcast, they said that like the first Apple Watch kind of sucked.
Yes.
But now it took to Series 5 to be good.
It does seem that everything that they put out first time around is just better than the last thing they put out first time around.
Well, that's typically what they do is they wait and they get it to be as good as possible. They
perfect it before they can release it.
But this one's different strategy, I think, because like who else has done this? Like Google is not a Google Glass. It's not HoloLens, and it's not Meta's. What do you call that thing? I don't know. Oculus, yeah. It's not that. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what it looks like.
Okay, well, we'll have to do when that one comes out, though.
Oh yeah, we're going to do
in terms of the construction application, though. If you're going to, and this is okay. So this is the big thing with, okay, if you jump back even, and Cam at Rand would appreciate this because from our days of laying out buildings and stuff like that, a total station is just it's a piece of equipment that you can lay out all sorts of different grid lines and plotting points on the ground for foundations and different layout stuff, right? Excavation, etc. People really start to enjoy those things and geek out around them, and they're costly or whatever, but everyone kind of needs one. It's like an essential tool on a job site. And you go one of these things, this isn't going to be like every superintendent's running around with one of these, or maybe for $17,000 you might just have a few of them in the company and you just have your people operate them yourselves and learn how to deploy them yourselves. And ultimately, I think people want to be able to have control of these types of surveying things. So this is something I could see where that happens. And then to your point about, an Apple Glass or Apple glasses or whatever, if it's more consumer ready, where literally you just have like, every super's got a set of these things. Yeah. And they just go, oh yeah, let's go for that site walk. Okay, throw on your glasses, guys. And I know they are kind of already have this, and we've joked about throwing these massive things in and falling in holes because you're trying to walk over a floor that's not there yet. Yeah. But with augmented reality, you're looking at what's actually in front of you. Plus.
Yeah. It's gonna be pretty cool. And they have a direct all you will do as a developer is you will update Xcode. Yeah. And Xcode will have services then for these things, just like they updated it for AirTags. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Well, we'll get into that when it comes. But the last thing here, and this is one that I think it's always funny, you know. We cover a lot of stuff, like we were saying. We talk a lot of stories. We often uncover, you know, parts of people's stories a lot through the last 3 years, you know, through COVID. We're talking about things that people have differing opinions on. Well,
yeah.
This one right here, and this again came out of Site News, their weekly newsletter this morning. They did a whole bit on 15-minute cities. And even when I came in and I was telling producer Dave, like, hey, this is what we're talking about, he's like, boom, automatically, like it was a point of he already had some opinions about this.
All right. So
do we want to listen to this? This was a clip on YouTube. I'm pretty sure we can play this. This is fine. This is going to be on YouTube later. But this is a clip from I think Spanish gentleman who initially coined this word. But we'll give a little context to what we're talking about.
Is that at 2 minutes? Where is that?
Yeah, it goes from 0 to 2.
Okay.
But we're going to give this a try and see if it works.
Let's see.
For too long, those of us who live in cities, big and small, have accepted the unacceptable. We accept that in cities, our sense of time is warped because we have to waste so much of it just adapting to the absurd organization and long distances of most of today's cities. Why is it we who have to adapt and to degrade our potential quality of life? Why is it not the city that responds to our needs? Why have we left cities to develop on the wrong path for so long? I would like to offer a concept of cities that goes in the opposite direction to modern urbanism, an attempt at converging life into a human-sized space rather than fracturing it into inhuman bigness and then forcing us to adapt. I call it the 15-minute city. And in a nutshell, the idea is that cities should be designed or redesigned so that within the distance of a 15-minute walk or bike ride, people should be able to live the essence of what constitutes the urban experience. To access work, housing, food, health, education, culture, and leisure. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself?
I think that's kind of gives a bit of and hopefully not wearing a mask in the 15-minute city. But
wow, yeah, I mean, yeah, he seems like he's in his beautiful Paris apartment there with his nice millwork and expensive artwork. He's sitting pretty. Without
getting, obviously, if we're being cynical about the thing, then taking a stance on what this concept is. I find it funny immediately in that I read it this morning in Site News newsletter, and I had heard about the concept prior many times.
And this is 15-minute city.
15-minute city. Yeah. I'd heard about it before. Never, I mean, you hear so many different words and phrases and things thrown around in the last 2 or 3 years. But, you look into them all, do you dig into them all? I think it's really good that people know what everything is. But it's interesting that exactly immediately that it is a polarizing concept. As soon as you type it in, it's like conspiracy this and conspiracy that.
I know. So lay out the conspiracy argument.
Okay.
Like what are the
well, first of all, let's
there?
just lay out both sides.
Okay.
So and I think that because the side that's that would be probably a proponent or an opponent of it comes out pretty clearly. He said two things there that like really stood out to me.
Okay.
Creating a human-sized space.
Yeah, what is that?
For people.
Human-sized.
That's what he was referring to with all that a human needs. And again, we're always going to pull this back to the built world, right?
Yeah.
Because this is how cities are built and constructed. So we don't want to get too far off plot here, but I think it's super relevant because it's how cities take shape. But this human-sized thing basically saying that all your human needs can be met within a 15-minute radius of your city walking or biking.
Right.
Okay, human-sized. Then he is kind of outlining that the negative opposite of that is human bigness. Okay? Human bigness meaning, I would like to take my family maybe on vacation and drive across the country or down the Pacific Coast Highway to California.
Right.
What happens when this concept takes root and, is that frowned upon, or is that just, you're a rural person? Okay. Anyway, so laying the two things out would be that you could have everything within a 15-minute radius of your house, walk or bike, everything you need, groceries, amenities, recreation, all the things that you would do for work, social life, etc.
But I heard there was, I looked at the National Post article.
Yeah.
Okay, and that had somebody saying that in order to do that in the cities, you'd have a certain permit to be able to drive into a city, etc. Right. That means tracking everybody, and this is like Big Brother kind of situation people don't want.
Totally. And this is funny because knowing that we were going to be talking about this today, and not that we weren't excited about the other things we were talking about, but I feel like this one has some pretty significant human consequences or at least impact. I live in a city called Surrey, which is about an hour outside of a city called Vancouver, so a rural versus metropolitan area. It just so happens that you live in the city and I live out of the city. So it's almost like breaking this down to knowing how we would now interact.
Yeah.
And as I was driving in, it was funny because I wasn't trying to uncover anything that was like, oh, this is terrible or something like that. But as I was driving in, it just clicked to me. I was like, would I be crossing over some sort of a point right now where I'd be paying a toll to be like, oh, hey, Surrey guy, he's coming into Vancouver. Oh, just so you know, you're now entering the 15-minute city.
Yeah.
And you gotta do whatever,
But that's what they do in London.
They?
So there's areas that you have to have a permit to be able to drive in London.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that certain area there.
Drive in, though.
Drive in.
Not
be in.
Be in, yeah.
I don't think they would get to be in.
Yeah. No.
Well, they're talking about facial recognition. So
sure.
There was it was somewhere in the UK. They had an event. I think it was a concert or some sporting event where the police were using facial recognition cameras to scan for people who have been problems in the past.
Yep.
So I think this stuff is all happening already. But so I'll give you. So let's just talk about this in relativity to Vancouver for a minute, because the 15-minute city has been talked about here.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we have. I'll give you an example of a real life situation. So my parents live on the North Shore. Okay, and my dad had to have an eye surgery at Vancouver General. Okay, so he says, can I pick him up from the hospital and drive him home? Absolutely, sure, I can do that. So I go pick him up at the hospital, all good. I come off the Granville Bridge. I go to take a left, and Drake now, which used to be able to get on and go up to another street that would connect to a major artery to go to the North Shore, does not do that anymore.
Full bike lane?
Full bike lane.
Yeah.
It's you can't turn there. So what I did was I went, oops, okay, I'm going to go in the alley and try and go that way. And then what ended up happening was there was a garbage truck in the alley, which is there, right? Because that's what alleys are for service. And I get stuck as a car behind me. I look to the left as a guy doing fentanyl or heroin or something with a needle, open drug scene right next to my dad's. Like, bloody hell, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So what we find is that Canada loves to do this. So does, the liberal United States loves to make examples of what happens in Europe and goes, oh, we just need to do this here. What they don't understand is they don't have the cultural fabric to pull it off. They don't have all the services around it. So for instance, and there's some realities of Canada as well. In that podcast from the National Post article, they were talking about they're trying to do this in Toronto.
Yeah.
And the density of of Paris versus Toronto is a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think it's like 20 times or something like that. And the other part is that just because of the climate, you can't ride your bike all the time. And sure, if you want to have these policies in the middle of June or July, great. But not everybody wants to get soaked on a bike or get frozen it's just not safe, first of all. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can't go and do your groceries all the time. You can't do big hauls. People have big families. It seems as though that the governments that we hire to provide services to pay taxes to, are telling us how we should be, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'll give you an example. So if you were to hire a gardener for your garden, and you were to pay them X amount of dollars, and they just tell you what flowers to plant, you'd be like, oh, excuse me, I pay you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I want to plant. Right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of like this. People are making us grow stuff we don't want to grow.
Sure.
Did I just get political?
No. Well, this clearly is. If you just and Dave is showing this here. This concept was brought up again in Site News, a construction newsletter. But as soon as you dig deep into it, there's just two polarizing sides to it right away. So it's a political issue, no matter what no matter how much you get into it or little you get into it. They've already made it that way. You got CBC saying one thing and National Post saying another thing. So there you go.
Surprise.
So there you go. But bringing it back to just the human element of this, right? I love living in a more rural area. I kind of grew up out there, and I like it. But I've always worked in a metropolitan city.
Yeah.
Like almost since graduating university, I have spent the better part of my career working in a dense metropolitan area. Commuting, driving, whatever. And always driving. Yes, there's some elements that are annoying, but I like it. I like being able to go back somewhere where there's a little bit more space and room to run around, and then coming in to be in the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, and the air is different.
And the air is different, and it just changes the way you think. Mm-hmm. But it's like anything. If you live rural and never come urban, is that right?
Yeah.
You also have a different way of thinking, right? But to cross over and have that, I just think it creates this. It's such a nice condition for one to be in, to be able to be exposed to different environments. That's kind of how I think about it, and I love the beauty of it from a construction and development standpoint, that you can have more. You can have metropolitan areas where you can build up and you can allow people to be in those environments, but you can also have all these great recreational places to go and play, to go and see things, and to go and travel, and to take time to go and do that. But this guy is almost making it seem, I guess, that the human bigness is like commuting and moving so far is a waste. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Is it wasteful to go on a road trip? Is it wasteful to? I kind of get, like you want to be able to get places quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a couple of sides to it.
Yeah,
I think if you, you drive an F-150 and you come in here 3 to 4 days a week, and that's energy that's created. There's rubber from your tires going everywhere. There is an impact to that, to coming in here.
Sure.
So, but you should have the right to do that.
Yeah.
So, what this is something different. This is trying to change the entire setup of a city and saying, actually, no, Christian, you actually aren't allowed to do this unless you pay a premium, which is different. So you should, as a Canadian, be able to go anywhere you want within a public road. Mm-hmm. It's a public road because you actually paid for it. Mm-hmm. So, and your insurance paid for it. What I find is frustrating with an article like this is that to kind of make this, so Carmen Celestini here, they've made her look like she's crazy here, because they basically say embedded with a lot of other conspiracy theories related to QAnon, the Great Reset, all this stuff.
Oh, here we go.
Like, what are they like?
Even saying these things is. Yeah.
I know, but the weird thing is the fact that they're saying that just because this is a way to silence somebody or something. Like it's just trying to discredit them by attaching them to, things that, I mean, you've heard this from many podcasts, is that there are things that 2.5 years ago people were saying, this is a conspiracy, and then suddenly it's like,
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying off the bat, is as soon as you see that word, you go, oof, there's more to this story.
There is, because, right. And I think where, the word conspiracy, just to sort of hone in on this just for a minute, is, to conspire is, a group of people getting together towards a meaningful event of some sort. And,
is that the definition?
Well, to conspire, to conspire. And the thing is, whether or not those conspiracies are nefarious or not is the question, right? So the conspiracy of JFK to Roswell to all of these ones that people say are, considered conspiracies, and then to lab leaks and all this other stuff that turned out to be, it's not such a crazy story. These people did conspire, get together, and do these things. So that's just unfortunately what this is. So if she's saying that, this is, they're saying this is a conspiracy, it's like, are there a group of people getting together? Well, this guy was just on YouTube. He obviously has a group of people. Yeah. They're getting together to do something towards an end. So it's an organized. It's an organized initiative, right? So
totally.
I don't know. It's kind of.
Well, what's really cool here, and this maybe ties up the conversation for this go around, is that you were even saying that you bumped into a gentleman last week that's part of Urban Development Institute or committee or whatever, and we've had people on like George Benson from Vancouver Economic Commission. And there's a lot of discussion about the way that cities are shaped, the way that they're built, the way that they're formed, and the way that they're looked at moving into the future. It would be kind of cool to, and we're just two guys here running a construction podcast who, have brought on guests and are now talking amongst ourselves, going through these issues, which we've always wanted to do because we think it's relevant. And these are the things we talk about when we're off the mic. As soon as we get off the mic, you're
on record now.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Our guests are humans, and they live the human experience, and we get to have lots of fun conversations. But it would be good to bring in those that are maybe even involved in this process,
With this 15-minute city thing, just one more thing with that is that they need to fix the cities first. If they're gonna push everybody towards this, then you gotta, the affordable housing, they call it a crisis. I don't know if it's a crisis. It's more of it's just a bad situation.
Yeah.
That has been, you could see it coming. I mean, there's how much money did we let in here that weren't people from here? How many people have, the empty homes tax is basically a slap on the wrist to those that can afford it. They don't care. They just pay the fine, right? It's the same thing as, what was that Silicon Valley example of the guy that used to park in front of this no parking zone? He called it the VIP parking. He just paid the ticket.
Ooh,
God, it's that kind of mentality, right?
Totally.
Those who can afford it can just say whatever they want to do, right? So if we want to have these ideas of 15-minute cities and we want to have a sustainable living downtown lifestyle, then we need to get rid of all the dysfunction first. And I think until we do that, I don't think you should be pushing everybody downtown. You got to get this right first. You got to have people to be able to live in harmony. You need social services that are going to help those in need, and you need to develop societies that are can all get along with each other. Yeah. And right now, that's just a big mess. And because Canada, hello everybody, is a baby. In terms of culture, it's a baby.
Totally.
And everyone forgets that. Everyone looks at Portugal and for drug addiction examples and all this stuff. It's like, true enough, but you can't walk around there out of your mind. You're going to go to rehab. Right. So, these things, I think that we need to understand that as we look to that guy, Carlos, whatever his name is, Carlos
Modena.
Yeah. I mean, he's in Paris.
Moreno.
Yeah.
Moreno.
We need to look at the reality of where we are in Canada here and stop looking outward to all these other examples of everywhere else that are inherently different. We need to figure out what works here in our baby land of understanding. Yeah,
it's a good point to make, because there's so many concepts that are maybe half baked that get fully rolled out.
Exactly.
Right. And we see that happening all the time, and we forget that we are a baby nation. The United States is a baby nation.
Yeah.
Right? North America is infancy in terms of economic, or not economic, but in terms of the human development.
Oh, I have one other thing. There's one other note that I wrote down. Maybe we can just discuss for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that as we look at our I think today people are defining themselves more than ever before. They are now their own personal brand. We've heard that for years. Now they're at a time when their own self-identity is so important of who am I? And that's where we've seen all these identity politics coming from is people's thirst and need for definition of themselves and how they have to become special somehow. So when I look at these 15-minute cities and I look at people biking in, do you think these Instagrammers / people who want to be ballers, people who want to be like the it people, they're not going to subscribe to this. Those people don't go on the subway. These people don't ride bikes. They walk around and expect to be picked up in a Lamborghini. And these are the people that everyone aspires to become, the whole working class of going into an office and all of that stuff. All of the amazing creative people have all left all of this. Now they don't go into an office. Now they create businesses by themselves. They have sustained themselves in a way that is independent from the big machines. So now it seems like we're building this to these 15-minute cities and these to try and create systems for the old model.
Right.
Of all these people working in one place. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. It's happening less and less and less. And people don't want to. They don't want to be. Individualism is the key. People don't actually want to be part of a culture anymore, which is weird, I find.
Yeah.
Like you walk around Vancouver, I have people in my neighborhood who I have seen for 10 years that do not say hello, even though I've had a conversation with them before.
Oh, yeah, my next door neighbor. Yeah, same thing.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think just to cap this off, unless you have any other comments, is like we need to grow up as a culture in order to pull this stuff off. Yeah.
No, I think it's a good point to tidy things up, and it kind of leads into the last two conversations that we've had, and they've been good for me, and I think you picked up on that in terms of talking about real practical solutions to change and to dealing with issues like renewable, embodied carbon, all that kind of stuff, where you could immediately just throw it off.
Yeah.
But like to really get into it and be like, no, this isn't just like talking about impact. It's actually making a real change.
This is the George stuff.
It's the George stuff, and it leads into the episode that we have upcoming on Thursday.
Okay.
With Adam from Unbuilders.
Oh yeah.
And he said something as I was pulling some clips, which I thought was really cool. It's his personal story, but he talked about, and this goes back to tying to those that look around and see social media or just the people that they're trying to emulate.
Yeah.
And it's like they want impact, but they want immediate impact with no real impact, meaning there's no substance to it. Right. And I thought it was great. Adam shared, and this episode comes out on Thursday of this week, and so our audience will hear it, and it's awesome. It's so good. It was rich with a lot of great content. And this one, he just said, right after talking about getting investment from Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, getting money back, fast, grow, flashy. He's like, this is about making an impact, and to make an impact, it's a long game.
Yeah. Altruism is a long game.
Right. And I'm like, it's so refreshing to hear that someone that's approaching something to create meaningful change and they're willing to put in the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lost art. It's a lost mindset, notion, whatever. And I think when it comes to even just thinking like 15 minutes just sounds like microwave. I want it done now. I want it quick. That just seems
TV dinner.
Yeah. Right. So I think that it's really cool to tidy this conversation up. This was our first kind of crack at, we've said, construction culture in the built world kind of conversation. And we'll get a bit more of that, I think, once a week. we'll keep that going. We'll be bringing in Russ Hickson from Site News to bring a little more context to the articles that we'll be discussing.
And on Twitter. So we're on Twitter with SiteMax. We've been on that for a while.
We have been, yeah.
Because I'd like some dialogue back from people who listen to this, ask us stuff.
This actually would be good because this is going to be going up on YouTube. We're going to be throwing this up.
Which has comments.
Which has the comments. It'll be interesting. I mean, this one might get comments that have nothing to do with our construction audience.
Yeah.
But hopefully we get our own audience. We can grow it and hear from people that if this is really meaningful, if this is something they want to hear, and perhaps, where are the mediums that they want to be engaging with us on?
Yeah.
Twitter obviously has been investing a lot into, or at least saying, put your videos here.
Yeah.
Put your full-length content here. Because the way their algorithm works, they thrive on the dialogue from the full organic content.
I see, yeah.
Right?
That's cool, yeah.
So we'll be, this is all experimentation.
Yeah.
The construction, the audio only podcast telling construction stories, it worked really well.
Yeah.
And it still works. And we're going to continue to do that. And this video the episode that comes out on Thursday is so fantastic with Adam Corneal from Unbuilders. That's episode 86.
Yeah.
Getting close to 100.
Okay.
Here we go. But enjoy, and we will see you again next week.
Down.
Boom. All right. Well, we got video as promised. If you love this episode and you're in construction, or you know someone who is, be sure to share each of the Site Visit episodes, smash that like button, subscribe, and tune in to all of our episodes, which will be broadcast right here on our channel. We'll see you next time.